We're gonna get started now. On behalf of Kiran Malhotra, who is our executive director, she was here a while ago, but she had to leave for personal reasons. So I would like to welcome you all to this great event this evening to listen to an amazing story of one of the very successful mobile app entrepreneurs. And before we get started with the program, I would like to tell you a little bit about Thai. So how many of you are here for the first time? Wow, that's great. Patricia is just standing by the gate. She's not going to let you get out until you become the member. So Thai was founded in 1992 by a small group of entrepreneurs of South Asian or Indus region. In fact, some of our past presidents and the co-founders are here, and actually I would like to name them. Kanwal Rekhi, who is our past Thai president as well as one of the co-founders, and then Vis Misra, who is our existing president. And I also saw a number of charter members here. We have our chair for Thai Angels, Bank hiding somewhere. And then, Shyam, a lot of charter members. Charter members, could you please raise your hand so that others can see? So a lot of these charter members are really accomplished entrepreneurs and professionals. So those, some of you may want to make sure you get to know them and network with them after the program is over. And I think they can be very helpful in terms of mentoring, advice, or any other for those who are looking into venturing into their own entrepreneurial journey. So now since 1992, once Thai from a very small group has grown to over 57 chapters across 13 countries globally, right from in Asia, Europe, and chapters across United States and Canada, and in India, and Malaysia, Japan, in Asia side, and in Europe you have it UK, Germany, even in Sweden. So, and Thai, as I said, the main mission of Thai is to foster entrepreneurship and is open to anyone. Anyone can become a member. And the basic tenet of Thai is we believe that we want to cultivate and nurture entrepreneurial ecosystem and free economies everywhere, as we believe that's one of the single most instrument of prosperity. Thai holds a number of programs. One of the flagship program is ThaiCon, which is held every year in May. And we've been holding this program since 1994. I'm sure there are a number of them who've probably been to, how many of you have been to ThaiCon? And how many of you have been to each and every ThaiCon? Yeah, I'm one of them too. So for me, like I say, it's going to like Makkah to get the blessing of entrepreneurial spirits, and you meet a lot of people and get high energy and stimulation for doing your entrepreneurial ventures. So those who haven't been, please make sure next year in May, I think it's during middle of May, it's held. It's in Santa Clara Convention Center. And it started in '94 with 500 or so attendees. Now it's grown to over 3,000 people, 3,000 attendees. So it's really a great event, and we're really proud to host that. And in addition to ThaiCon, we have a number of industry-specific programs like cloud, life sciences, mobile, energy, and social media. So they are held, so please check out on Thai website, thaisv.org. And then we have some other specific programs, like even we have Thai Women's Forum, Thai Growth Company Forum, which hold these programs too. And so let me tell you about a few new programs which we introduced since last year. One is Thai Angels. Thai Angels, in fact, like I said, I saw Venk. Is Venk here? Venk is chair for Thai Angels and as well as board member and a charter member. So Thai Angels was launched last year in August, and with a number of steering committee members. I saw some of them. Can I see some hands for the steering committee? I see Raj Parekh there, Vish, and Venk, as I said, was here, and I'm also one of the steering committee members. So basically what we found a few years ago, as you know, a lot of startup companies are looking for some seed capital for up to $500,000 or so. And a lot of venture capital firms, they want to put more capital, so it's kind of, you're stuck in the middle. So for those entrepreneurs who are looking for seed capital, so please, those who are here, anyone looking for money? Okay, number of them. So please go to thaisv.org, and there is a Thai Angel section, and so please apply over there. It's a 3-step process. So once you put in your application, it's is screened by a screening committee, and then you're invited in for a presentation in front of the steering committee, which is a group of about 7 to 8 successful entrepreneurs and venture capitalists. And from there, 3 companies are invited to, 3 to 4 sometimes, invited to present in front of Thai Angels, which is usually we have anywhere from 50 to 70, 80 charter members or angel investors who attend this meeting. It's held on 3rd Monday of every month. So, so please spread the word around to your friends who are looking to raise seed capital. And then second program, new program we launched early this year was this My Story program, which anyway you'll be hearing. The idea was, I remember back in when I was looking to raise money or starting my own company back in '96, you know, I used to come and listen to folks like Kanwal, who had started company, who were one of the early Indian, highly successful Indian entrepreneurs, and Prabhu Goyal and other folks. So it used to be very inspirational for me and a lot of other folks to come and listen to the story of how they started and you know, how what were the decisions they made and what made them successful. So on the same basis, I felt that it'll be a great program, and it has turned out to be. Every month we hold it usually on first Tuesday of every month. And you know, unless there is a holiday or something, then we kind of move it around a bit. So My Story was second new program we launched early this year in March. Then we'll have another one in November, December, up to January. We are already booked with the entrepreneurs. The idea is to bring in entrepreneurs to share their story, those who have exited their company successfully over the last 12 to 18 months. Third new program we just launched in August is called Thai Startup Pitch Fest. The idea is from the audience, 8 or 10 entrepreneurs, they picked randomly, and we have a group of venture capitalists sitting here. Kind of, I call it like the American Idol version, but in a nice way. We don't have any Simon Cowell there. so you give a 2-minute pitch, and you'll get instant feedback. And the one they recommend out of 8 or 10, I think they choose 8 last time. So hopefully the host, Prashant Shah, who is an ex-venture capitalist, will choose around the same number. So they go in front of the Thai Angels screening committee right away, the one you know, entrepreneur whose pitch is picked up. So that's the next program. So now quickly on the Thai organization, basically we have three constituencies. One is charter members, as I mentioned, and second is members, third is our sponsors. So a lot of our sponsors, we have companies like, you know, IBM, Microsoft, SAP, venture capital firms, and legal firms who support us financially. And charter members are on an invited basis. These are very highly accomplished individuals, like the ones who raised hands earlier. And membership is open to anyone. And so with that, what I would like to do is, so that's about Thai, and I would like to invite Ramu, who is co-founder with Bhaskar and started Quick, to introduce Bhaskar today. And so and then we'll have Bhaskar over here.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Ramu Sinkara. I'm one of the co-founders for Quick, along with Bhaskar Roy, who's the speaker. And we have a third co-founder is Nikolai Apkairo. And Nikolai is from Moscow, Russia. And so you can imagine we had an R&D operations in Moscow, Russia, with Nikolai's leadership there. And all three of us started the business and worked in my garage for about 9 months. Then we raised a couple of rounds of funding. And along the way, we have almost a fourth co-founder whose name is Vijay Tella. Vijay initially gave us the seed round of funding. He was one of the early employees and founders of TIPCO. And then subsequently, Vijay joined the company full-time. And towards the last year of the company, Vijay was the person who also negotiated the deal with Skype. So basically, this is how we started and ended. And the business we built is you can take a mobile phone. Every phone has a camera in it. Every mobile phone, almost 1 billion of them have cameras in them. The vision was you can take this, whatever you're seeing right now, all of you are seeing me, and you can share that with people having a phone, or people anywhere on the internet, or people sitting in front of a computer. And that's the vision we executed. And when we merged with Skype, that's in January 2011, about like 10 months before this, we had a team of, this was a team in North America to the left. Yeah, this is a team in North America, and the other side is a team in Moscow, Russia. That's when we merged with Skype. So this was a journey of like 5.5 years for me with Bhaskar, and working like every day. I mean, you can imagine like working in a startup is like more intense than having a relationship, you know. It's like almost like, you know, everything you got to trust, and you know, you got to make sure like other person is thinking more than you are, right? At every instant, right? And things could go wrong almost any time. And the company went through a major recession in 2008 where we ran out of money, and we barely raised another round and survived. And then iPhone came out and Android came out, and boy, I mean, we had a velocity like 10x growth from any number point of view between 2009 and 2010. And by the time 2011 reached out, we were the #1 in North America, and now we also got to Japan. So with that, I learned like, you know, Bhaskar is pretty unique among all the people I worked with in three major things, and this is very, very useful in any startup, I think, you know. And I'm privileged to have worked with Bhaskar in the last 5.5 years and learned these things from Bhaskar. The very first thing is, every company has to pivot. Every startup, right? You start with one idea, and you ended up with building a business in a completely different or an adjacent market, which you didn't even foresee. To give an idea, like we all started with building a PC-based video chat product. All of us, like, you know, we went and built this prototype, and this is in 2006. And we raised a Series A funding, saying that we'll do a PC-based video chat that people in social networks can use it. After we took the funding, then this was June 2007, Bhaskar came back and said, like, I think we can't compete with Skype. We need to take a turn now. And Bhaskar said, like, you know, the only thing we should think about is mobile, because that's the thing that hasn't been solved yet. You know, let's see if we can do something in mobile. And the first pivot he came up with was from taking the same video technology and making every mobile phone to stream live video to the internet, because it's very hard to do video chat in those days. So that was the first pivot he did. Then subsequently, we took the turn, and the next pivot he did was like, you know, all the social networks are coming up, like, you know, YouTube and Facebook and all those things, right? We immediately integrated with those networks, you know, and so on and so forth, right? So along the journey, we had to pivot several times, and I think Bhaskar was very instrumental, not only making the product and the company move, but also making sure the ecosystem supports us. When we pivoted into Android, we made sure Google really loved us. So Google promoted us like, you can't believe it, like, you know, they gave the prime real estate in their marketplace and things like that. And that really helped propel Quick. The second thing which is very unique about Bhaskar is creativity. You know, for all of you know, the company was called Visivo Communications. You know what is Visivo Communications means? Some of you know a little bit of Italian, can test it. Visivo means visual in Italian. This is again the first name Bhaskar came up with, right? Then he was thinking like, hey, we switched to mobile, what is it we should call this company as? Then he went around, he said like, it means quick, it means very fast, you know. I hold a phone and based on the camera, I stream live video. That means everyone in the world can see it very real, very fast, right? So he couldn't get the word Q-U-I-C-K, I think he got Q-I-K. Because it's like in mobile world, you got to use Q-I-K, right? So that is the next thing Bhaskar did once we switched to mobile, called the company Quick. Then the creativity is just not the name part, right? How you run the business too. You know, we are running a service for mobile users, and we had like, you know, as a free product to start with, the premium and other things didn't materialize by then. Then for customer support, Bhaskar came up with the idea of recruiting like interns from undergraduate schools. So we had like almost like in the course of 5.5 years, we had 19 interns from National University of Singapore, University of Norway, Stanford University, San Jose State University, all doing customer support and QA. So again, you got to be creative in how you do the job too in the startup, right? And these are like, you know, not like by any means cheap labor, but extremely talented people and who are so passionate about making sure customer service is taken like, you know, we got such a good name in 2008 and 2009 because of these kinds of customer support representatives we had for a free product, you know. It didn't work out and we used to handle it. And we could handle almost anyone using the product, journalists to politicians and so on. So creativity in everything, not just the name, but how you run the business is equally important in a startup because you're always starved for resources, right? And the last thing we had to do was work with like whole bunch of partners like Nokia and, you know, all these mobile ecosystem players like Samsung, LG, and operators, right? In all these cases, Bhaskar was very creative in like making sure they all sing the Quick name, you know. They all want white label product, right? We never gave up that, you know. We just kept the Quick logo. And we made sure like, you know, if you go to, there are so many Nokia billboards we saw all over the world, plastered with Quick on it, you know. But it was really good, like, you know, this is where I meant like creativity in like how you name the product, how you run your business, and how you promote it. With all these aspects, like, you know, Bhaskar was very unique in what he did in the last 5.5 years. And finally, the next big thing is, in a startup journey, you attract all kinds of, like, you know, you need to attract lots of talent at a very fast pace and get them up to speed. You need to attract, like, you know, people like, you know, just from college, people who are experienced as well as interns and so on, right? And ability to work with everyone is very important because you got to get the ball moving as fast as you want, right? And that is where I think Bhaskar has excelled in, like, you know, working with like interns, working with new hires, working with people across the water in Russia, people working with like senators, working with congressmen, and that was like made the company like, you know, build a team working cohesively to develop what we're developing and pivoting along the way to reach finally the destination of becoming the #1 mobile video player before we merged into Skype. With that, ladies and gentlemen, this is Bhaskar Roy. He's going to come and join you.
Hi everyone. So let me first set this up a bit. So before I start the presentation, how many of you have a smartphone here in the room? Wow, pretty much everyone. Let's backtrack a bit, pre-iPhone era, 2006, 2007. How many of you had a smartphone back then? Very, very few. And in that, how many of you had a smartphone other than BlackBerry? Because BlackBerry didn't even have a camera. Just one person. So that was, you know, if you look at it, our target addressable market was just that when we started on mobile. So in any which way you look at it, right, most of the time when I talk about this, people say that, what the hell were you thinking? So why did you start a company, or why did you do something on mobile when really the smartphone market was not there? And so the title of my presentation is exactly that. What the hell were we thinking when we started this? And you know, so what I've done is I've attended a couple of these My Story events So rather than go through the entire startup journey, I've just taken anecdotes of some 5 or 6 anecdotes that happened during this entire course. And hopefully through those anecdotes, by the time I end, you'll realize that what the hell was going through our mind or what the hell were we thinking, which led us to what we became. So Ramu, you already heard about myself, Bhaskar Roy. This is my third startup, which many of you don't know. The first one was Eason back in 1998. Only Atul might remember that. And it was something that we started, but we could not raise funding because that was the time when the dot-com bust was happening. So we let go of that. And then the second startup was something that I joined called Placeware. Placeware was a competitor of WebEx, got acquired by Microsoft, became Microsoft Live Meeting, and very soon realized that Microsoft was really a bit too big for me.
I was the founder of Facebook.
Oh, you were? Okay, great. And so became Live Meeting, realized that Redmond is a bit too far, and it's a bit too big for me. So then I left, and I was looking as to what's the next thing to do, and that's where I met Ramu. Ramu was at Oracle, and he was building a real-time communication division at Oracle. So Oracle, which is known for database and applications, he was just starting to look at how can we do communication as a part of a group of products at Oracle. And it was my privilege. I used to work for Ramu, and leading product management, product marketing there. And that's where I also met Nikolai, who's the third co-founder. Nikolai was not a part of Oracle, but he was working for a company in Russia called Spirit DSP. They were providing us with the codecs that we were using in order to build the real-time communication. One of the smartest guys we have ever met. And so when we decided to start, we realized that we need Nick if we have to build something in real-time communications. So that's us. And going through the story, the first pivot was desktop to mobile. So our entire vision was always, how can we enable people to communicate better? And we looked at Skype, and we said that download, why even go through the download? Why can we not let people just communicate from any web page, any website? And I'm talking, 2006. And so all they do is click a button, and you're able to have a two-way conversation with someone. As we were developing this, we built a lot of technology to figure out how we really navigate this. One of the key things that we developed was how you navigate across wireless networks. Because wireless networks inherently are unreliable. There'll be, even if you look at cell networks or even just Wi-Fi, there are drops that are happening. So how do you make sure that you can provide a cohesive experience even when you're wireless or on a wireless network? So that was one of the key technologies that we're developing. And as Ramu talked about, after we raised our Series A, we realized that this is actually better suited for the mobile network, where the problems were enormous, right? Because that is a place where, you have 3G, you turn around, you'll get 2G, or you'll just get a cell pocket. So the problem was amplified in the cell network. And as we looked at this, we realized that, maybe the right target is there. So let's go through the pivot as to what was going through our head. So the first thing was, leading up to that, this is the garage. This is Ramu's garage in Los Altos, where we started. And if you look at these were our servers, where we were running our cloud there, private cloud there. And Suite G, this had a very big thing for us, mainly because, we didn't want to call ourselves, even though in Silicon Valley everyone says that we are a garage startup, we said that we have to project we are bigger than garage. So our address was Ramu's house address, Suite G, Los Altos. So letters would come to us saying that, anyone would look at the address and, okay, so you have an office. Really, this was an office, without realizing that we just had Suite G in it. So from there, after we built our initial set of technology and we actually had a desktop product working, so for a good 9-month period, we were just building it out in Ramu's garage. And once we had a product built, we showed it to a few friends of ours. Vijay was one of them. Vijay was the chief strategy officer at Oracle at middleware. Then Roger Bamford, one of the first employees at Oracle as well. And then Kant Miriala. They were the first 3 seed founders or seed investors in us. So they looked at it and they said that this is a cool product, what you have done, mainly because we enable people to video chat through any web page. No download required, nothing. And so they essentially invested in I would say more in Ramu, myself, and Nikolai as to what we are going to do. And the interesting thing is, right after we raise the money in March, in June we go back and say, you know what, desktop is not it. We need to figure something out. So we had to manage our three investors through that particular process to figure out what is it that we need to do in order to move from there. So why pivot? So there are a couple of reasons why we looked at the desktop and said that this is not the right place. There has to be a better use of the technology. One is our users. We had around 1,000 users, I think, using the product. None of them were excited enough about it. We would talk about the product, they would use it, they would start using it, but we wouldn't see that daily use, right? And we would monitor that, they wouldn't talk about it with passion. We said that, there's something missing here. So what is it? So that is one of the things that we used to always nag us. The second thing is we ourselves didn't find it exciting and cool. So we thought that desktop is great, people can chat with across the board from websites, but we were always looking at what's the coolness in this, what's the sexiness in this particular product, and we couldn't find that ourselves. The third was, like I talked about, our technology that we had built was better suited or better amplified or applied to the mobile world. And finally, the desktop video conferencing with Skype and others coming into play was becoming a red ocean, right? So it was time for us to look at how we can pivot to something which is much more meaningful. So what was going through our heads? As I talked about, our vision was to enable people to communicate, right, across the board from any device. And when we looked at the mobile front, there were a few things. Firstly, we realized the market is not ready for two-way video. There were hardly any smartphone. In this entire room, the sample at that point was just one. And most probably, that particular one smartphone didn't even have a front-facing camera at that point in time, right? So if you look at it from that perspective, the market for mobile was really not ready. And Nokia was the only device where they had a front-facing camera, but Nokia was predominantly outside US. And so we looked at that saying that, as a startup, if we target something outside US initially, can we really successfully pull that off or not? The second was 3G proliferation had just started, but it was, the bandwidth was not enough to do really good quality two-way video across the board. So when in two-way video, you need both uplink and downlink, right, going simultaneously, and there was just not enough bandwidth to do it. And there were instances of 3G video calling which were there in Asia and Europe, and none of those products were actually successful. These were products that were rolled out by carriers, but they were not really that successful. So we said that, let's take a completely different approach to this and figure out how we can slowly move towards our vision, but what can we do in order to address the market which is there today. So we came up with one-way live streaming. There is enough bandwidth to be able to do that. You can use the back camera, not the front camera, because you're streaming video. So you do live video from the back camera. People who want to communicate can text chat back to you. So as you're watching the video, you can type something, it will show up on the phone. So we had that two-way communication channel going without actually using the two-way bandwidth. And then we said that, every video that is getting streamed will automatically be archived so that you can then share it and propagate it across the board. And then finally, this was, I think, one of the key things that we decided is we are going to go direct to consumers. We are not going to go through carrier channels or OEMs channels. Because there were a number of players at that point in time, if you look at it, there were no app stores. So the distribution was hard for these, for any mobile application. Most of the distribution was done through carriers or through OEMs. And we consciously made a decision, no way, we are going direct to consumers, and we'll figure it out as to how we can actually distribute through consumers directly. So there were some things that we built in the technology where people can just click a link and the application will just come, irrespective of which device you have. And so, since we were going direct to consumers, we needed a new consumer-centric name. We were called Visible Communications at that point in time. We got Quick. And the interesting story behind Quick is, we were looking for a 3-letter domain. Because at that point in time, most of the devices, there was no touchscreen. There was T9 typing. And if it was a long name, it's just impossible to type. So we needed something which is 3-letter. And so we were looking for it, and then we came across Quick, Q-I-K, and it was up for sale. There was a paint company in Italy which had that domain. So we said, okay, we need to get that name. So we bought that. In fact, he was asking for around 10K, and finally we negotiated down to 5K. And we bought that domain. And if you look at it from that standpoint, right, at that point in time, I remember debating with Ramu as well as Nick, because 5K is a big amount when you think of a startup standpoint. It's like, it's huge. And so it was like a big bet that we take, no, okay, it has to be consumer-centric. We want it to be really easy from get-go. We cannot start with a name which is so big. Let's go with Quick, and we invested in the name Quick. And it worked out good for us. So this is our first website, trying to portray the concept of Quick, mobile videos, someone watching from the desktop, with one key liner there, stream live video to the world right from your phone. And that was pretty much our website. And any live video that would happen initially would show up straight on the homepage. And people can see that and chat with it. So my key takeaway from this, so with every anecdote, I'll talk about takeaways, at least the ones that I learned from them. And hopefully, these are things that would matter. One is team is everything. So one of the key things we realized when we pivoted was, the team that we had was very flexible. Everyone was looking to build something very, very good and strong. And so when we realized that mobile was the way to go, obviously, as you can imagine, the market was not there. There were no investors, apart from our existing investors, ready to bet on us because the market was not there. So, but we all believed in ourselves and said that, this is something that we are actually going to build and prove to ourselves. So they were passionate, commitment in doing this. And commitment goes across the board. It goes even to the point where I would say, Nick in Russia, anytime any video would happen, at the end of the day, he would watch every video. And he would diagnose what were the problems in those videos in order to improve quality. So every video was actually watched initially. And everything we looked at to say, okay, what if we did this? Will that improve the overall quality of the transmission? Will that improve the quality of the device? And it was to that level of commitment which we had. Culture matters a lot. And in fact, when I was thinking about it, I didn't really have this as a bullet point, but recently, thanks to Erica, it hit me that, we were talking the other day and she said that, I miss Quick. And we were at Skype discussing over lunch. She said that, I miss Quick. And the main reason was culture. For us, there was a very key thing. All of us just wanted to do something much better. It didn't matter what it was. Everyone had a can-do attitude. And you hear all these things about can-do attitude, but I must say that I've learned a lot about this. For example, I'm going to embarrass someone. Lauren, who joined us as an office manager, soon became an HR manager, looked after our finance and everything. And when we were going down, during 2008, when the market meltdown started happening, we were looking for finances, we said, what can we do? We have to let go of folks. And one of the folks we let go was our CFO. So you can imagine what happened when Ramu looked at Lauren saying that, Lauren, you're handling finances. You are no longer just an HR, you're also handling finances. And she figured it out. Her dad is a CFO. She got herself trained, figured out what to be done, and did it. And so she was, for that interim period of time, Lauren was handling as to our entire books. Then I'll embarrass another person, Harag. So Harag is our data center guy. And so when we launched our first iPhone app, and he looked at it and said, it's just not beautiful. And so we had no idea what to do. We were looking at, okay, should we get a designer or not? Harag spent his entire evenings, nights, designing the iPhone app. And then he took it on himself, and he said that, how about this as the design? And we said, great, let's adopt that. So it was everyone in the company had this thing that I can actually make the change. I can actually do something. If I don't like it, they had absolute right to go ahead and change it. And that's what we did. And so that was a very strong belief that we had. We had a strong sense of urgency, that attitude which was there. And we had this mentality that, whatever happens, we'll do whatever it takes in order to make our product the best products, because we believed that the best products always win. We just had it in our hearts. And like Ramu said, believe it or not, once you get into a startup, it's a committed relationship that you have with, at least with the initial group of folks. And it's more intense than your family, because you're spending pretty much most of your time with them. And it matters a lot as to who you hang out with and who you recruit, who you work with. In fact, in our job description, I still remember one of the things that we used to say is, you should fit into our culture to the point where, if we are stuck at an airport for hours, it will be a pleasure to hang out with each other. So that was one of the key things that we even used to put in our job description, saying that, we want folks who could actually fit into this, and we could actually hang out together and do things together. So that's the first anecdote. The second anecdote that I'm going to talk about is the way we launched. And it was launched by Robert Scoble, which we just had no idea about. And this was exactly what happened. It was, oh shit, we launched. So what happened was, we had, leading up to it, let me actually see, yeah. So when we built our first product, we said that how can we get some external user testing being done rather than just us? So we started making rounds in Stanford. We found a few folks, students at Stanford. We gave them phones and said that, why don't you just use the product yourself and start giving us feedback? And then we started looking at all the folks who are very technologically savvy, who can actually start using our product and use this. And so we formed a group of around 10 or 12 folks at Stanford. And there's an interesting story. We formed a similar group with NUS. There are some folks from NUS here, I see, as well, Angad. So NUS is National University of Singapore. They have this program called Entrepreneurship Program, whereby they send students from National University of Singapore here. They study at Stanford part-time and also work at various startups at part-time in order to get that entrepreneurial spirit in them. So it was just by accident I met this guy called Alvin Lai. And I was just looking for folks who are technically savvy, can do this, and someone introduced me to him. So we met over coffee at Starbucks, and he was a very sharp dude. So when we talked to him saying that, okay, I want you in as a beta tester. So he started testing the product, he got excited about it, and then he introduced me to this NUS program. And since then, we have had 2 interns from NUS, that's the max that you can get every 6 months. And they stay for a year in order for the internship. But that built a relationship with these young folks who are looking to become entrepreneurs, testing our product out, giving feedback, and that formed our core group. So the reason I'm bringing this up is, as we were building this, as we were releasing product to these guys that were testing it, one day, one of the beta testers went to an Apple shop in, I believe it was in Palo Alto, on the one in University Avenue. He went there and he was just walking around and he saw Robert Scoble there. Robert Scoble, I don't know how many of you know, he's one of the well-known bloggers here. So he met Robert Scoble and he just could not resist himself and he showed Quick. So right there in an iMac, he actually streamed a live video, showed Robert Quick, and then he gave him that software. And so once we started seeing heavy traffic come to our site with requests coming in, we started saying that, what really happened? And we saw Scoble's videos. And we said, oh shit, how do we do this? We are just not ready to launch, right? We were just in very early stages of testing. As you can imagine, only 12 to 24 people were testing the product, and he was making it, broadcasting this to thousands and thousands. So late that night, I remember we just grouped together saying that, okay, Scoble is using this, what should we do? And we looked around the table and said, we just launched. Let's figure out how to deal with it. And so Ramu immediately went to Fry, started with getting hardware in order to equip a data center. We started talking to Nick, saying that, hey Nick, this is what we need to do. And we just grouped ourselves, started figuring out how can we capitalize on this. But one thing we did do was we still kept it private beta. So you could get in only through invitation. And obviously people were setting the software to other folks, but we kept it private for a good 6-month period, even though we were getting thousands and thousands of requests across the board. And the other thing that happened was that, oh shit, became kind of the phrase for us for the entire month. Because Robert, after doing the first few streams, he all of a sudden said, I'm taking this to CES. And that was his blog post. So I'm taking this to CES, and we said, oh man, now our videos is going to be watched globally through Robert Scoble and his phone. What can we do? At that point in time, we were doing only very low resolution video because that is what we could do with live. So we had 2 weeks Since the launch happened on December 17th, and CES was first week of January, we had 2 weeks, and we said we need to bump up the quality of this video within 2 weeks. So as you can imagine, we just didn't sleep. So those 2 weeks were completely dedicated to looking at how we can handle CES and how we can bump up the quality to be able to handle that. So that was the first thing that happened. The second thing, end of January, was World Economic Forum. And this was another great point for us, mainly because World Economic Forum, all these leaders come together, none of those are ever recorded in video, because those are confidential. And here, the only way to record video was through your mobile phone. And so all the folks who were coming in were actually using Quick to do it, because they came to know through Scobel, and everyone started using this. And you'll see in this particular article, where BBC obviously was there at the World Economic Forum. They used this and they interviewed Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce.com, using Quick, and they said that, boy, that is interactive TV. It got a whole lot of press, but more importantly, what that did was set us this timeline. If you look at this, every industry leader got exposed to Quick as a part of that, and means those are Bill Gates, Michael Dell, etc. But then World Economic Forum themselves realized how powerful this is and adopted Quick. And they used it for press conferences. So that in this kind of a room, right, when I'm doing a press conference or someone is doing a press conference, you take questions only from the room. World Economic Forum would open it up and would get questions from anyone on the internet as they would stream that video of what is going on there. So World Economic Forum started using Quick. And as you can imagine, with all the momentum that we had, we closed Series B over a weekend. And one of the investors you'll recognize is Mark Benioff, who was interviewed at World Economic Forum using Quick. And the interesting thing is also Mark Andreessen, Ben Horowitz, leading investors in the Valley and just huge entrepreneurs, they also invested in Quick. And there's a story in that too. We didn't know anyone. Right? We were just folks who wanted to build something. It's not that we knew Mark Andreessen or Ben Horowitz. So we were going through this, building stuff out. All of a sudden, we get an email at info@quick.com saying that, I'm Mark Andreessen, hearing a lot of good things about you guys. Have you raised a round yet? Or are you looking to raise a round? And Ramu and I, we looked at each other and said, spam. Yeah, what the hell? Why would Mark Andreessen ever approach us? So we looked at each other and said that it will be really stupid if we don't reply to it, just to see if it is real or not. So we replied to that email. A week later, we met with Mark and we showed him what we had, and he said, I'm in. So Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz, at that point in time, they were angel investors. Now they have their own fund. They invested their own personal money in this. Now, the interesting thing, again, to point out was, even though industry stalwarts believed in us and they were investing money in us, none of the VCs wanted to touch us. So as we would talk to any VC, they would say, market is not ready, XY is not ready, this is not going to happen, product market fit is not there, sorry. But we were bullish enough that we knew that this thing has to change eventually. We knew that smartphones will eventually become the way to do things. And as we were using the product itself, we realized how valuable it is, right? As I'm walking out, having my mobile phone as a mechanism to show something to someone and do something with someone right from that point was very different than what anyone else was trying to do, right? We knew that this eventually has to come into play. So there was something, I would say, in the Quick name and our concept that actually resonated with users globally. So I'm going to play a video, and then I'll talk about the other stuff. The person you are seeing here is the Prime Minister of Singapore. It's not that we got connected him through NUS or anything like that. He just came across Quick and started using it. And he used it in one of his speeches in National Day Rally. So with that, let me play the video.
National Day Rally speech is now National Day Rally Multimedia Super Show. Has to be, because that's the way you have to communicate and after the speech, videos, blog responses. And people make these things. Anybody can do this anytime, anywhere. Let me show you. I have a handphone here. It's an ordinary Nokia handphone. There's a handphone which has a little program loaded in it called Quick, Q-I-K. And what Quick does is to turn this handphone into a video camera. If I click it, it will turn on, become a video camera. And furthermore, it will stream the picture immediately onto the internet, onto my website. So if I turn on the camera now, and I'm filming you now, you look on my website, you can see yourself. And I think we must make sure we see the upstairs people too.
And there is the website where it was streaming, but people started seeing themselves and started clapping.
Slight delay, but it worked.
So, means unknown to us, people were getting inspired by just being able to communicate using their phone. And these are, again, all stories which are there. The first one on top, there's a guy in Norway who did a quick graffiti on his restaurant wall. And he streamed that video live. Police came in and said that, what the hell are you doing? And he was just wanted to get publicity for himself on the internet. And he basically on his wall wrote Quick. There were people who were selling doormats. Are you a Quick lifestyle? Unknown to us. We were just finding this out because people would just send emails to us, and we would see that saying that, we never thought about that before. The third over there is, again, a picture that we found on Flickr where someone was using Quick almost like a dictionary word. So he had formed this in Scrabble, and the caption over there, actually, if you can read it, it says that, is this a word in the dictionary yet? And so people were looking at this and saying how that means this has become, the name was catching people's attention, and the concept was slowly proliferating across the board. We had congressmen from Texas, Pope, actually not Pope himself, but Vatican media starting to use Quick. And not that we marketed this, not that we actually reached out to them to do anything. It was just the part of the product. And as you can imagine, we got all possible kind of recognition and awards from journalists. So the takeaways from that specific anecdote for launch and the first few months after launch is, the first product that you build, that you have built something really strong is when it starts inspiring users to do something with it. You're not having to tell them this is how the product works, this is how it does, these are the capabilities. We still don't have any help in our product. But we believe that if the product is good, you should be able to figure it out, and you should be able to come up with use cases on your own and be able to evangelize that. And that's how Quick grew. For us, we had for a longest period of time, we had like zero marketing budget. And it was just growing virally, going through word of mouth with people. Whenever you stream a video, someone sees it, they say, neat, why can't I do this? And they would pick up their phone, register for the product, and do it. So we were just growing virally across the board. Be opportunistic, be tactical, and this is mainly, I hear a lot of things around strategy, and we had our vision and strategy and goal as to what we need to do. But for us, it was like, when Scoble launched this, we could have taken two decisions on that day. One is, let's hold off, let's ask Scoble to, meet him and scale back on his use. But we said that we just launched. Let's make the best out of that. So be opportunistic in that sense. If you see an opportunity, just fall on your lap, capitalize on it. Be hands-on. And what I mean by that is everyone in the team at that point in time were very hands-on in everyday things. I used to do customer support myself, along with the other interns. Everyone was involved. Ramu was doing Java programming, right? So it was from CEO down to everyone was actually hands-on in complete product. We were obsessing about our product on a day-to-day basis as to who our users are, how are they going to use it. We were looking at all the videos. And interestingly, when you launch something, there's always competitive, right? In this world, which is a very competitive software world, there are always competitors there. And the moment we launched, there were two other companies that said, we are going to launch the exact same product in 2 months. But we didn't really care about that. what we focused on was our product and our users, and we said that this is what we are going to obsess about. And then once the product reached a particular level of quality, it took us 6 months to get from the initial launch that Scoville did, and that is when we went public beta. So we held, even though there were all these news, everyone talking about it, all this media stuff, but we held. We said that no, it's not available for anyone to come in and sign up yet. We are just not ready yet. And so from December 17th all the way till July, we just held our ground, and when we launched in July, we had BlackBerry covered, Windows Mobile covered, Nokia covered. And this reminded me of a quote as I was putting the slide together. It's something that one of our investors, Marcus Ogawa, said, is traction cannot be defined. You know you have it when you see it. And when I heard Marcus say that, it rang so true to me, saying that, means you cannot say that I have 1 million users, as a result I have traction. It is mainly when things start falling together one after the other, you start realizing you have traction only when you see it. So that was my second anecdote. The third anecdote is around iPhone phenomena. So iPhone gets launched, iPhone 3G comes out in July 2008, and that